Hello, and welcome to today's session on deliberate cold therapy. And if the mere mention of an ice bath makes you shiver, well, I was right there with you. Just a couple years ago, getting into an unheated pool, let alone a cold plunge or a freezing lake, would simply take my breath away and send me into a panic attack. So stay with me. So in today's video, we're going to explore the tradition and benefits of deliberate cold exposure. Now, let's start by going back and looking at how we evolved in relation to temperature. Now, one of the reasons old Fedge Onsark didn't feel separate from nature was due to his proximity to it. Nature was quite literally his home. Now, unlike our suburban boxes, Fedge's small hut of branches and grass had no digital thermostat on the wall. Hence, he had no ability to control the ambient temperature. He was subject to the weather fluctuations of the high desert, which might be alternately scorching on a summer's day and frigid on a winter's night. Now, Fedge was not unduly bothered by nature's vacillations because his body was equipped with an analog internal thermostat located just above the roof of his mouth and below his nose. The preoptic area of the frontal cortex, in concert with the hypothalamus, regulates core body temperature based on skin temperature. Because the skin is more exposed to the environment, skin temperature fluctuates more widely than core temperature. The normal skin temperature for healthy adults ranges between 92.3 and 98.4 Fahrenheit, lower than the 98.6 Goldilocks zone average of your core temperature. Now, when we are feeling a bit off, we take our temperature. We are attempting to measure our core temperature, which is why taking a rectal measurement is most reliable, if somewhat awkward, method to obtain the most accurate value. Now, we have long been taught that a normal core temperature is 98.6 degrees, but surprise, there is nothing stable here about your organism. It is in constant flux. Core temperature naturally fluctuates with your circadian rhythm. So your core body temperature naturally varies from about 97.7 degrees to 99.5 degrees Fahrenheit over the course of a day. So your body temperature peaks in the late afternoon and then slowly decreases. This decline in core temperature plays a key role in your ability to fall asleep. So the nadir of your body temperature usually occurs around 4 a.m. and then slowly rises again. So you see these crests and troughs that are so part of nature. So natural fluctuations in temperature led to the development of adaptive mechanisms that resulted in greater resilience, in reduced inflammation, upregulated metabolic function, better circulation, improved energy and alertness, increased stress management skills, and reduced muscle soreness. So unlike Fedge, I can set my external thermostat, the one affixed to the wall in the den, to maintain a snugly comfortable ambience of 72 degrees, completely irrespective of the vacillations and weather patterns. Now, this might satisfy my psychological desire for comfort, but it makes poor use of my hard-earned biological advantages. Deliberate cold and heat exposure through ice plunges and cold showers and saunas and hot baths serve to realign us with health-conferring adaptive mechanisms. Okay, I want to share with you this unbelievable tradition called the drying of the sheets. So in 1981, Herbert Benson, a cardiologist at Harvard Medical School, set out to study the ancient meditation practices of Buddhist monks on the Tibetan plateau. With the Dalai Lama's blessing, Benson spent roughly a decade in remote regions of the Himalayas in northern India researching an especially intense technique known as tumo. Now, Benson witnessed monks wrapped in 3 by 6 foot sheets, saffron in color, I'm hoping, that had been soaked in 49-degree water. And to add further insult to the injury, the monks were made to sit quietly in a room no warmer than 40 degrees Fahrenheit. So leveraging a yoga technique known as tumo, they entered a state of deep meditation. The tumo practice combines a mix of breathing and visualization exercises in order to stir up your internal energy such that psychic heat becomes real heat. It involves deep, vigorous inhales while pulling back your shoulders and expanding your rib cage, counterposed with loud exhales and the bringing of your shoulders back forward. This rhythm is repeated. Now, the Iceman, Wim Hof, who decamped at Commune Topanga for a number of weeks, has popularized this breathing method. For untrained people, the frigid sheets and environment would produce uncontrollable shivering. Now, if body temperatures continue to drop under these conditions, the result can be severe, including death. However, after 30 minutes or so, steam began rising from these sheets. As a result of body heat produced by the monks during meditation, the sheets dried in about an hour. Attendants then removed the sheets and covered the meditators with a second chilled wet wrapping. Each monk was required to dry 3 sheets over a period of several hours. The historical use of deliberate cold therapy hasn't been exclusively applied to robed meditators. It has also been leveraged as a technique to train the military. The United States Navy's sea, air, and land teams, commonly known as the Navy SEALs, are the U.S. Navy's primary special ops force and a component of the Naval Special Warfare Command. And Navy SEALs are renowned for their physical fitness, their mental toughness, and their exceptional ability to perform complex missions under highly stressful conditions. Navy SEALs train extensively in cold water environments using a method known as cold water conditioning. And the training is designed to build their physical and mental resilience. Surf torture is one of the most notorious parts of the Navy SEALs training. In this exercise, trainees link arms and wade into the ocean until they're waist or chest deep, and then they lay down in the surf. They must remain there for extended periods of time, sometimes in the middle of the night, which quickly leads to the onset of hypothermia. And trainees must rely on mental toughness and team camaraderie to endure this challenge. Now, other unfathomable drills include swimming long distances in cold water and bobbing up and down in cold water, often with hands and feet bound. Now, while I would never recommend Navy SEAL training or drenching yourself in icy bed sheets, there are clear psychological and physiological health benefits associated with deliberate cold therapy. The preponderance of data focuses around ice baths, in which your body, up to your neck, is fully submerged in cold water. How cold? Well, it really depends. Cold and its accompanying discomfiture is highly subjective and relative. In fact, evidence suggests that benefits can be conferred through exposure to water even as high as 60 degrees. Other hardcore cold plungers prefer a bath closer to a frosty 40 degrees. It simply must feel uncomfortable. And of course, this practice requires caution. Hypothermia is no laughing matter. So the trick is to ease into it. So surely you've seen star athletes like Novak Djokovic or LeBron James soaking in giant tubs of ice. Why make oneself so utterly miserable? Well, you've probably sprained your ankle once or twice, so you know the answer. One of the primary benefits of cold therapy is the reduction of inflammation. The cold can constrict blood vessels and reduce swelling. So many athletes use cold water immersion to speed up recovery after intense training sessions or physical performances. Again, the cold helps alleviate muscle soreness and inflammation. But even if you're not an athlete, you can be an athletic supporter. The benefits of deliberate cold water therapy run much, much deeper than treating inflammation. Let's start with mental resilience. The sudden immersion in cold water can initiate a series of responses in your body that may result in discomfort, or even with me, a sense of panic. And when you enter very cold water, your body first experiences a cold shock response. This is an involuntary response characterized by an uncontrollable gasp for air, increased respiratory rate, heart rate, and blood pressure. Levels of adrenaline can increase 500%. This reaction can create a feeling of panic. Now, these are normal and expected bottom-up responses of the sympathetic nervous system. However, if you apply top-down pressure on this stress through mental concentration and use of the breath to neutralize feelings of panic, then you will build up psychological resilience that you can then carry over into other stressful life situations. The key is to start deliberate cold therapy gradually and then increase durations of exposure and decrease temperature over time. By breaking through walls of discomfort, as Andrew Huberman puts it, you will build the capacity to think clearly and react appropriately under stress, which can make a huge difference in more life or death situations. Okay, let's talk about mood and cold therapy. The significant elevation in adrenaline is certainly going to make you alert. Hence, cold water therapy is an excellent protocol for any activity that benefits from alertness, like learning or even making this video. Cold therapy sharpens mental acuity and focus and can be a powerful tool for neuroplasticity. Now, if I have a late night drive, a cold shower will ensure that I'm attentive. Cold water therapy appears to raise adrenaline without significantly elevating cortisol. Hence, you can experience alertness without feeling stress. A study conducted at Charles University in the Czech Republic found that cold water immersion at 57.2 degrees lowered rectal temperature and increased metabolic rate by 350%. Plasma, noradrenaline, and dopamine concentrations were increased by 530% and 250% respectively. And at the same time, cortisol concentrations tended to decrease. So as noted, cold water therapy also activates dopamine release. Dopamine is a powerful mood regulator, providing a feeling of reward and of motivation. Cold water therapy upregulates dopamine release over a protracted period of time, not just during the session. In fact, you may experience 48 hours of elevated dopamine levels after your cold plunge, post-cold immersion. So in this manner, cold therapy may be a powerful treatment for addiction as it stimulates the same dopamine receptors as drugs, obviously without the detrimental long-term impacts. Let's talk about cold and metabolic health. And this is really where I've experienced the greatest benefit from cold immersion. Now, when you immerse yourself in an ice bath or a cold shower, your core body temperature will plummet. Now, as described, your body is equipped with an internal thermostat that maintains a core body temperature in that Goldilocks zone around 98.6. Now, when your body temperature drops, your body springs into action in a process called thermogenesis. Your body needs to burn energy to generate heat. And much of this activity is carried out in brown fat tissue. Now, brown fat is rich in mitochondria and serves as the body's furnace, upregulating core temperature through energy production when the body gets cold. And triggering thermogenesis in this process in your brown fat can actually beige your white fat, some of that visceral fat that you don't want. Now, cold showers and ice baths can also lead to mitobiogenesis, the creation of new mitochondria in your white fat. So that's beiging your white fat, it's making it more brown. Now, of course, your mitochondria need a fuel source to create the heat for thermogenesis. And if you are in a fasted state or have a low glycemic diet, there is likely very little glucose around to burn. In this case, your body will have very little choice but to convert triglycerides to free fatty acids and ketones for fuel. So this combination of fasting and cold water therapy can be a powerful way to oxidize fat and to lose weight. And this elixir is most effective if you expose yourself to cold before breaking your fast. Now, according to metabolic scientist Dr. Susanna Soberg, you can maximize the impact by refusing a towel and letting yourself just shiver post cold plunge. Don't huddle, just let yourself air dry. Yeah, burr. Of course, these protocols must be safely administered and under consultation with your doctor. Hypothermia is no joke, and in very rare cases, cold shock can cause heart attack due to severe vasoconstriction. As I said, cold is extremely subjective, so start slow and gradually progress to colder temperatures and longer durations. Okay, deliberate cold water therapy. I used to hate the cold, and I can empathize if you do too, but there are so many benefits associated with it. So first, you get a dopamine rush, and that dopamine can last up to 2 days after you take the cold shower. Now, we're all familiar with the anti-inflammatory properties. Athletes take ice baths after a heavy workout. But where I saw the greatest benefit was to metabolic health. It raises your basal metabolic rate. And if you are in a fasting protocol, the best time to take a cold shower is before you break your fast, because you're going to be super low blood glucose. And when you get in there, your core body temperature is going to plummet, and your body's going to have to heat itself up, and it's going to need a fuel source for that. And there ain't no glucose around at that juncture, so it has no choice except to burn fat. And you can almost just watch the fat burn off your body. So here's the protocol to get the benefits out of the cold shower. 4 sessions per week with an aggregate total of about 12 minutes. So maybe that's 2 to 3 minutes per session. Now, a lot of people ask, like, what temperature does it have to be? And this is the crazy thing with cold. It's completely subjective. What's cold to me might not be cold to you. And where you see the benefits is when you get in there and it actually feels cold. And of course, over time, you're going to build tolerance to that cold so you can elongate, increase the duration, and lower the temperature over time to get the maximum benefits. All right, here I go. Whew. Hey, Commune YouTube fans, thanks for watching this far. We'll have the section on heat therapy coming up in just a moment, but I wanted to drop in and let you know about a few things. First, if you like what you're watching, you should know that these are excerpts from my full-length course on Commune titled Good Stress. That's right, stress can sometimes be good. Good Stress is my curated program
of deliberate acute stress protocols that realign us with our biology. These are the protocols that I personally adopted to reverse my prediabetes and insulin resistance, optimize my sleep and immune system, and reclaim my vibrancy and my ability to focus. So you can get a free pass to this course at onecommune.com/goodstress, or just click the link below. I also wanted to let you know that Good Stress is made possible by Vivo Barefoot, who make by far my favorite barefoot and minimalist shoes. So for too long, we've encased our feet in layers and layers of plastic and foam, such that our feet are not nearly as strong or mobile as they should be. So by switching from my old tennis shoes to Vivo Barefoot, I've really felt my feet get stronger. Plus, they are quite stylish. In fact, I'm wearing a pair right now. So you can use Commune 25 and get 25% off their shoes at vivobarefoot.com. The link is also in the notes. Okay, on with the show.
Hello, and welcome to today's session on deliberate heat exposure. We are going to explore the myriad benefits of sauna and associated heat therapies. And if you don't have access to a sauna, don't worry. There are cheap options available, such as sauna blankets, that I will describe in the protocol video. So the legendary Greek physician Hippocrates, also known as the father of medicine, once said, "Give me the power to produce fever, and I will cure all disease." Now, Hippocrates was certainly not alone in recognizing the power of heat to heal. Thermal baths, mud pits, and hot air caverns linked to volcanic sources were all common practices in ancient Egypt, dating all the way back to 500 BC. Heated sand and warm baths were used for the treatment of edema, otherwise known as dropsy or fluid retention, in ancient Rome. Deliberate heat therapies have been utilized around the world for millennia, including saunas in Finland, onsens in Japan, banyas in Russia, hammams in Turkey, and sweat lodges in Native American culture. Now, most of the current data that we have on saunas comes from Finland, which is purported to have over 2 million of them in a country with 5.5 million people. And that ridiculous statistic might only be rivaled by New Zealand, which boasts over 5 sheep for every citizen. Now, I've become quasi codependent with my cedar barrel sauna, whom I visit every morning, and I never tire of her. Perhaps because the womb-like experience that she delivers is quickly erased from memory by the cold stream of 50-degree water that I stand in miserably after every session. This is a practice called counterbathing, which I also will describe. Now, frequency matters when it comes to sauna. 4 to 7 sessions per week will confer the maximum benefits, and that includes a reduction in all-cause mortality of 50%. Now, I'll get into the specific protocols in the next session. The sauna, as we will soon discover, is not just simply a hot room, but rather a gateway to unlock adaptive mechanisms in the body. The benefits of regular sauna use are multifarious, and I will outline some of them now. Now let's start with cardiovascular health and inflammation. So deliberate heat therapy mimics low-grade exercise. And you probably feel that. Your heart rate goes up and your respiratory rate goes up. Now, while baking like a tuber in the oven of a sauna will not deliver the same level of cardiovascular benefit as a vigorous tennis match, it does provide some of the same perks related to heart health and inflammation that I'll enumerate, with significant loquacity in the exercise section, but I'll preview it a bit here. Aerobic exercise improves cardiometabolic health, making your heart muscle stronger and thus enhancing the ability for the heart to get oxygen to cells for energy production. Additionally, physical activity decreases resting heart rate and blood pressure and reduces the development of type 2 diabetes by improving glucose tolerance, insulin sensitivity, and decreasing circulating lipid concentrations. Exercise induces weight loss, decreases visceral adiposity, and lowers plasma triglycerides. Because sauna mimics low-intensity exercise, you will get some of these same benefits. Okay, let's talk about heat shock proteins. So regular deliberate heat therapy activates the production of a particular kind of protein called heat shock proteins. Now, these proteins help to maintain the three-dimensional structure of other proteins. Now, remember, there are hundreds of thousands of proteins in the human body. They're not just for muscles. Proteins make up enzymes and neurotransmitters and peptide hormones, as well as, obviously, skeletal muscle. Now, when proteins are produced by the ribosomes in the cell, they undergo a physical process of folding in which the protein chain is translated into a three-dimensional structure. The correct three-dimensional structure of proteins is crucial to their proper function. Now, the failure to fold into proper structures generally produces inactive or dysfunctional proteins. What's more is that misfolded proteins can be toxic. Consider, for example, Alzheimer's, the world's most common neurodegenerative disease and form of dementia. Alzheimer's is often characterized by protein misfolding. Beta amyloid and tau proteins misfold and aggregate to form amyloid plaques and tangles that are the hallmarks of Alzheimer's. Now, these plaques and tangles that strangle neurons and their connections might be more of a symptom of dementia than a cause, but still, protein misfolding is concomitant with aging, and heat shock proteins inhibit this misfolding of proteins and may be helpful in the prevention of dementia. Okay, BDNF. This is brain-derived neurotropic factor. Now, sauna usage also triggers the production of this protein, BDNF, that supports the survival and functionality of existing neurons, brain cells, and stimulates the growth and differentiation of new brain cells and synapses, even when you're over 25. It serves as a type of fertilizer for the brain, supporting the growth of new neurons and the connections known as synapses between them. Now, low levels of BDNF have been linked to myriad neurological and psychiatric disorders, including depression, schizophrenia, and Alzheimer's disease. Conversely, increasing levels of BDNF through the sauna and through exercise has been shown to improve cognitive function and reduce the symptoms of these ghastly conditions. Okay, let's talk about detox. Sauna is famous for detoxification, right? So when your body is exposed to high heat in a sauna, your core body temperature can increase as much as 1.8 degrees Fahrenheit. Your internal thermostat turns on and begins the process of thermoregulation. Humans have this incredible ability to sweat, and horses and monkeys and hippos can also perspire. Now, heat causes blood vessels to dilate, increasing blood flow to the skin, the largest organ of our bodies. And sweat, which consists of 99% water, emanates out of your skin through millions of minuscule little holes called pores. And when this sweat hits the air, it turns from a liquid to a vapor. As sweat evaporates off your skin, you cool down. The human ability to sweat is a secret weapon, right? This cooling mechanism provides humans with incredible endurance. I mean, even Usain Bolt cannot outrun a cheetah in a 100-yard dash, but across marathon distances, perspiration gives humans a unique advantage. A little fun side note here. Perspiration on its lonesome does not render you malodorous. It doesn't give you BO. Sweat actually has no scent at all. Now, you might notice that there is no bouquet to the sweat on your forearm. Body odor is generated when bacteria metabolizes sweat into fragrant fatty acids, and bacteria like to sequester in your armpit and other unnameable crevices. The sweat carries with it trace amounts of toxic compounds, including phthalates found in fragrances, nail polishes, cosmetics, and paints, BPA found in clear plastics and heavy metals, including arsenic, cadmium, lead, and mercury. So most detoxification responsibilities fall onto the kidneys and the liver, but sauna, in combination with deliberate cold water therapy, can move lymph fluid more readily around the body. And the lymph fluid transports these toxins to the liver. This practice of counterbathing, in which you alternate between sauna and cold therapy, causes a back and forth of vasodilation and vasoconstriction. And this counterposing action increases the circulation of the lymph fluid, further aiding in detox. Okay, NRF2. We talked about this for a second in fasting. Nuclear factor erythroid 2 related factor 2. You will not be tested on that or ever have to know it. NRF2 is a protein that plays a critical role in regulating the body's antioxidant response. It activates genes that produce antioxidant enzymes like glutathione or superoxide dismutase, which help to protect cells from damage caused by free radicals. Free radicals, which are also known as reactive oxygen species, are the natural byproduct of energy production. Their production is also a knock-on impact of exposure to X-rays, ozone, cigarette smoking, air pollutants, and caustic industrial chemicals. The high reactivity of these free radical molecules is due to the presence of one unpaired electron, which they not so generously try to donate and oxidize other molecules, or they may try to pilfer one in order to stabilize themselves. Now, free radicals can at times serve a beneficial purpose, killing pathogens. However, an overabundance of free radicals like hydrogen peroxide and hydroxyl radical can lead to oxidative stress. And oxidative stress can damage DNA and contribute to a wide variety of very serious physiological and psychiatric disorders, including cancer, heart failure, and Parkinson's disease, among others. Now, several studies have shown that sauna usage can activate NRF2, leading to an increase in the aforementioned antioxidants. These antioxidants neutralize free radicals by giving up some of their own electrons. And in making this grand gesture, they act as natural off switches for the free radicals. All right, let's talk about mood and mood regulation. So deliberate hyperthermia, or simply purposefully making yourself hot, may have significant implications on depression and mood regulation. Sauna can activate the production of different compounds that contribute to a sense of euphoria, heightened energy levels, and relief from pain. Now, sauna usage causes a significant release of the neuropeptide hormone and neurotransmitter dopamine. And dopamine is famously known as the feel-good neurotransmitter, but more accurately, it's part of your brain's reward system. It provides motivation to double down on whatever pleasurable activity in which you may be engaged. The human brain is hardwired to seek out these behaviors that release dopamine. Simply, when you're doing something pleasurable, your brain releases a large amount of dopamine, and then you feel good, and then you seek more of that feeling, so you repeat the behavior. And this phenomenon is obviously a double-edged sword in modern culture because there's so many maladaptive options that provide neural rewards, including the junkiest of foods, opioids, and other nefarious narcotics and obviously social media. Dopamine foraging on Instagram can keep people in this hedonic treadmill of seeking more and more likes and comments and engagement and followers. Sauna, on the other hand, is an adaptive behavior. Another category of molecule that is released during sauna bathing are endorphins. Now, endorphins are peptides in the brain that block the perception of pain and increase feelings of well-being. They are produced and stored in the pituitary gland of the brain. The etymology of the term endorphin has its origins in the combination of the words endogenous, endo, or occurring naturally in the body, and morphine, an opium-derived analgesic narcotic. In essence, your body is its own drug lab cooking up endorphins. Now, the level of endorphins released during sauna bathing can be 3 times normal, similar to a vigorous jog. In fact, the addictive nature of runner's high may also apply to regular sauna users, and I may be living proof of this hypothesis. So in the next video, I will discuss the best protocols for sauna bathing. Okay, I'm in my favorite place, my cedar barrel sauna, and there are so many benefits to get from sauna, from cardiovascular benefits to the production of heat shock proteins and BDNF and detoxification. But in order to harvest all of the benefits that sauna has to offer, frequency and temperature and duration matter a lot. So to get maximum benefits, here are the protocols. 4 to 7 sessions per week, a duration of minimum 20 minutes, and a temperature of somewhere between 170 and 200 degrees Fahrenheit. You also want to aim for about 15% humidity, which you can get from pouring water on the hot stones. So once again, frequency is 4 to 7 sessions per week, 20 minutes per session is your duration, 190 degrees more or less is your temperature, and you will be able to harvest all of the incredible benefits that the sauna has to offer.
Thank you so much for listening to this 2-part excerpt on hot and cold therapy from my Commune course, Good Stress. Now, in that course, I teach 10 Paleolithic protocols to optimize your well-being by triggering your body's built-in adaptive mechanisms. Now, as you've heard, I cover exactly what to do and why it works. Why is it important to eat stress plants? What did the ancient Greeks have to say about stressful conversations? There's a lot more. So if you're interested, go to onecommune.com/goodstress or click the link below. And as always, please make sure that you subscribe to our channel and leave a comment so I know what you think. Okay, my name is Jeff Krasno, and that's all from the Commune for today.